Cape Verde has continued to maintain its reputation as one of the most stable democracies in Africa with the recent outcome of its presidential election. What the rest of Africa can learn from Cape Verde political development is one of major focus of the edition of Africa Weekly. And of course, interesting and inspiring stories of development across the continent are all in this package. I am Charles Alpha, welcoming you to Africa Weekly. Since 1975, when Cape Verde gained independence from Portugal, that country has remained on the path of political growth in the recent presidential election. Former Prime Minister Jose Maria Neves of the opposition party won in a widely acknowledged peaceful election.
Opposition candidate Jose Maria Neves won Cape Verde's presidential election on Sunday, defeating the ruling party's standard-bearer, Carlos Vega, based on official results from 99.4% of polling stations. Neves garnered 51.7% of the vote, ahead of Vega with 42.4%. 5 other candidates all won less than 2% each. Neves and Vega, both former prime ministers, represent Cape Verde's two main parties. Neves, 61, of the leftist African Party for the Independence of Cape Verde, PAICV, served as prime minister from 2001 to 2016. Vega, from the Center-Right Movement for Democracy, MPD, served from 1991 to 2000. Neves will have to work with a prime minister from the MPD after the party maintained its parliamentary majority in an April election. His first challenge will be stabilizing the economy, which contracted 14% in 2020 as border closures caused by the coronavirus pandemic cut off Cape Verde's beaches and mountains from tourists, although the economy is expected to bounce back this year. President George Carlos Fonseca is stepping down after serving the maximum 2 5-year terms stipulated by the Constitution. The transfer of power will be the fourth between the MPD and PAICV since independence from Portugal in 1975, consolidating Cape Verde's status described as one of Africa's most stable democracies.
All right, joining us now to discuss the Cape Verde election is Anthony Osawaro of the Political Affairs Department of the African Union, ECOSOC, to look at what Cape Verde is teaching the rest of Africa. Now, Mr. Anthony, can you give us your impression on the just concluded presidential election in Cape Verde?
The just concluded presidential election in Cape Verde is a true demonstration of true democracy. The fact that the people's voice can count. And Cape Verde has shown the entire African continent that true democracy can work in Africa, regardless of the political affiliation or the party of the day. And I think it's something that the entire African continent should emulate, most especially countries that are yet to conduct their presidential elections.
Okay, now the opposition political party won the election. What does this mean to the political maturity in that country?
It boils down to show that the political climate in Cape Verde is solid, and gradually, by successively winning a presidential election, it is obvious that its democratic process is deepening by the day. And given the fact that despite an opposition, it is obvious that the people's voice could count. And democracy is all about the people, where the people are given the right to choose who to become their president, to choose who to lead them. I think it's a right step in the right direction.
Okay, Cape Verde is regarded as one of the country, having most stable democracy in Africa. Now, what can the rest of the continent learn from Cape Verde?
The rest of the African continent, most in particular, can learn from the Cape Verde experience that regardless of the party you belong to, if the truth be told, the entire population of your country can actually decide who to rule them. This shows that the entire African continent can get things better, can get things right by ensuring that the political architecture of the respective countries in Africa, the respective countries in African continent, lay down rules, policies that will further strengthen the voice of the people. Because Cape Verde has shown to us that the voice of the people matters a lot. And it is obvious because for you to unseat a ruling party, it is obvious that Cape Verde itself has a smooth political process that allows any person to emerge as a president under a political party.
Okay, now, Mr. Anthony, just on a final note now, in your opinion, what will you consider as the most important task before the incoming president of Cape Verde?
Well, to me, the most important task before the incoming president of Cape Verde is to see how he can reunite the party. You know, after elections, so much have gone down the drain, most especially those who contested for the political positions. He must ensure that the unity of the country is his top priority by bringing political leaders together, by bringing opponents together, and forging a formidable front in which the country itself can express the essence for which he has been elected into office.
All right, Mr. Anthony Osawaro, there on the last presidential election held in Cape Verde. Next is Tidbits. When we return, please stay with us. Nigeria and Turkey have solidified their agreements in energy, defense, and other strategic areas. Let's see the details.
President Muhammadu Buhari and the Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan led their respective countries' delegations to the high-level talks where the major agreements and memoranda of understanding were finalized. Consequently, 3 agreements and 4 MOUs were signed by the representatives of the 2 countries. These include agreements on the avoidance of double taxation with respect to taxes and income, defense industry cooperation, as well as cooperation in the field of sports. The Memorandum of Understanding were on the establishment of mechanisms for political consultations, as well as in the fields of mining, energy, and hydrocarbons.
Already we export like 1 billion scoff of gas to Turkey every year. They want to increase that. Also, we are trying to sign a government-to-government agreement with them to supply them 15,000 barrels of crude oil every day. So they are really looking to Nigeria for their energy requirements.
The one that affects my ministry is the one to deal with renewable energy, which Turkey government has excelled in that field. So, and as you know, it is the way to go. We want to diversify and move more to the renewable energy, that is the solar, the hydro, and things like that. It is not only Turkey that is going to help us along. They are also looking for areas we can assist them.
President Muhammadu Buhari described the agreements entered into between the 2 countries as critical to their socio-economic growth and development.
We have agreed that implementation is to commence immediately, aimed at strengthening this cordial relationship between Nigeria and Turkey. In the course of our discussions, we also reviewed the travel ban list based on the revised COVID-19 protocols and removed Turkey from Nigeria's travel ban list. Turkey has indeed achieved remarkable success in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic.
President Buhari said the Turkish leaders meeting with a joint session of the Nigeria and Turkish Chamber of Commerce and Industry will go a long way in pushing ahead the socio-economic ties between Nigeria and Turkey.
I commend Your Excellency for your leadership and generosity in receiving and accommodating 4 million refugees fleeing from conflict areas, particularly in Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. You have indeed set an example to the rest of the world.
A state luncheon was later held by the nation's first family in honor of President Erdogan and his wife, as well as members of the Turkish delegation in demonstration of Nigeria's hospitality.
The president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, is championing a massive private sector investment in Africa's creative industry, which has the capacity to create jobs for the continent's vast youth population.
Africa is experiencing an exceptional cultural revolution. From fashion to film and from media to the music, our continent is brimming with amazing innovation and inspiration. The African creative and cultural industries offer employment to nearly 500,000 people. At the African Development Bank, we are convinced that a creative sector that is vibrant and dynamic will generate employment for Africa's youth and attract foreign exchange inflows and stimulate other industries such as tourism.
African Development Bank's president, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, was featured at the Creative and Cultural Industries Summit at the instance of the Atlantic Council. As he recognized the young, dynamic and innovative entrepreneurs in the creative arts and media space in Africa, he said they play a significant and much-needed role in showcasing Africa's resurgence. According to the Patek Africa Auto Report, only 1% of venture capital and private equity investment is currently going to entertainment industry players, And this, the AFDB boss says, is too small and believe it is time to give the creative space a boost.
It means there's a massive opportunity for American companies to tap into fast-moving markets that speak to the country's young, urban, and connected Africans, including at least 1.6 million African immigrants in the United States. It's an opportunity not to be missed. The African creative and cultural industries can no longer be ignored. So, let's together accelerate the pace for these African success stories.
The African Development Bank is convinced that a vibrant creative and cultural sector will generate employment for Africa's youth, attract foreign exchange inflows, and stimulate other industries such as tourism.
We'll take you now to Morocco, where a special brand called Morocco Now has been unveiled and is expected to redefine business activities in that country.
Following the recent unveiling of the Morocco Now brand, Morocco's ambassador to Mauritania, Hamid Chabar, held a meeting on October 15 with several Mauritanian economic actors who have expressed their willingness to benefit from Morocco's branding strategy in terms of investment and exports. During the meeting, Chabar highlighted Morocco's participation in Expo 2020 Dubai, noting that Morocco Now will serve as a platform to attract more investment and increase the country's exports. Aissat Alam, Director General of the Agency for the Promotion of Investment in Mauritania, indicated that the Morocco Now brand is a source of inspiration and a model to be followed by Mauritania. Chabar said that Morocco is reaping the benefits of a new approach in the field of economic development and governance, noting that the Morocco Now strategy encompasses several distinctive assets such as Sustainable Now, which focuses on reaching 52% of the energy mix with renewable energies by 2030. Meanwhile, Mohamed Al-Sidi, president of the Mauritania Transport Federation, highlighted Morocco's attractive and competitive investment opportunities, describing the country as a great national wealth. He said Morocco has experienced a qualitative leap and a great economic takeoff in all sectors. Chabar further explained that Morocco's branding strategy draws its strength from the country's recent achievements on a wide range of fronts, including good governance, effective diplomacy, and political stability. The brand is also an industrial platform designed to seize the opportunities of a changing world where new requirements for economic factors such as environmental emergencies, consumer pressure, and new regulations make it essential to adopt carbon-free production. The Moroccan delegation at the Expo 2020 Dubai is optimistic about the newly launched strategy, saying that the plan is for the initiative to benefit not only Morocco, but also the African continent.
The UNDP is determined to increase the support of its various programs in Nigeria to fast-track their impact on the continent's largest economy.
Records show that the insurgency in northeast Nigeria left about 10 million people displaced, with approximately 160,000 Nigerians living as refugees. Towards the restoration of hope to affected populations, the United Nations, through its regional stabilization program with the Nigerian government, have been responding to the insecurity, forced displacements, and conflicts in the zone. After an 8-day official visit to Nigeria, the Assistant Administrator and Director of the Regional Bureau for Africa, Ahunaize Konwa, said the project is worth investing in.
Indeed, on the faces of those we met there, we saw hope being restored. Still many challenges, don't get me wrong, but it was just amazing to see that because of these green shoots of investments that we were starting to make in rehabilitating the areas, people were feeling confident enough to go back to their ancestral homes.
When asked on the position of the UN agency on vaccine inequality, the United Nations Assistant Secretary General said,
vaccines denied is development denied. We cannot, as a human family, survive this without ensuring that every country gets what it needs in terms of the vaccination.
The organization is also assisting Nigerian youths in cash transfer program for business restoration after COVID-19 downturns.
The Minister of Humanitarian and Social Development, Minister Sadia and her team, they have a social register, and the governors to make sure that we reach the most directly impacted.
So far, UNDP has invested $30 million in northeast Nigeria.
That's our package on this week's edition of Africa Weekly. Thanks for being part of it. I am Charles Alpha.